Should Rodgers take another snap this season, considering where the Jets are as a team?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. This is about 2024 for the New York Jets. And I'm pretty sure, listen, Aaron Rodgers came into this thing after tearing his Achilles and wanting to kind of prove everybody wrong. He's doing something that nobody's really done. Nobody's done. To be able to come back in the same season from an Achilles tear is unprecedented. So we know how Aaron Rodgers is in that regard, but there's just too many things could go wrong in this situation. I mean, you're playing in the inept offense, bad offensive line with a lot of different. I worry about, can Aaron Rodgers really move inside, outside the pocket? I wouldn't chance it. It's about 2024 for me.
One snap. Play one snap this year. I'm assuming in living in a world where like the Jets are out of playoff contention, so him coming back and getting them into the mix is not going to be a part of it. Play one snap because and I do think there is value in giving him, and this is where Woody Johnson, their owner, needs to step in and be like, hey, I understand that you set out this goal, do it, no one else has done it, you're defying all the odds. I want to give you that opportunity. Go out there, play one snap, get off the field. To your point, 2024 matters the most.
Yeah.
So I don't think we live in this world where he does all this work, gets medically cleared, and like, no, you're not allowed to. Go do one snap, say you did it.
What is the point of that?
Then he does it. He's actually done it. He's the fastest to ever come back. He checks off that box. You give him that fill while also preserving 2024.
Y'all can move on. New York Jets lost 4 straight. They're 4-7. You're playing for nothing. What are we doing? Stay your ass home. Go on Pat McAfee show every Tuesday. Kick your feet up, relax.
It's not going to be enough for him.
Watch the game. You can't play.
It won't give him.
So you're going to come back for what? You're going to come back for what? And you make one wrong move, it's your Achilles, and something else could happen to you for what? What purpose does it serve? It's a stupid thing to do. Sit your ass home.
Will not be enough.
You understand? Walk around the facility.
Does it do anything from a football perspective? Does it give them any kind of edge for next year? Like, honestly.
No.
For next year.
Zero.
Is there any purpose for the Jets as a team?
If they're still in playoff contention mathematically, I can see him coming back and playing. But if they're out and he gets medically cleared to go play, I say you play him one play to give him that fix-up. You accomplish that. You got that done. Then you're done.
You think he's going to do it?
I do.
You think he's going to?
20, another 27 days or something. He's done this in 80.
No.
I just think it's stupid.
It's stupid.
Dumb.
It's stupid to have him come all the way and get cleared and not give him the chance.
Well, give him the chance for what?
To check the box.
Oh, check the box. Man, how old is Aaron Rodgers?
39,
how many years has he been in the league? What box? He's a Super Bowl champion. He's a surefire future Hall of Famer. He's one of the greatest quarterbacks to have ever lived. Check what? Oh my God! I came back for a meaningless regular season game after an Achilles injury. Really?
It gives him the chance to do something that no one has done and everyone thought he couldn't. That matters to people like that.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe it was his motivation.
Okay, y'all.
All right.
Okay.
Let's go.
Okay.
Has Miami proven to you that they're Super Bowl contenders?
In the essence of fairness, I'm going to say no, because when we talk about Dallas, let's say, you spent all morning, Daniel, talking about the Cowboys and the competition. And yes, you can only face who's on your schedule. But when it comes down to who are you, what are you, how do you fare against great competition, to this point, the Dolphins have proven that there may not be as great as we think they are. Yes, high-octane offense, but if you take out the 70 points, how do those numbers look? That's my only pushback. So if we're going to point that out for the Cowboys, I got to be fair and point it out for the Dolphins as well. That's the only reason.
I think they are. I think they're legit Super Bowl contenders. If we look at the Dolphins and say, okay, this season, the 3 losses that they got beat by Buffalo. There's no question about it. That game, Buffalo, on that field was a significantly better football team. Then they lost to both Philadelphia and Philadelphia and Kansas City. Bring everybody back to the Kansas City game. Lost by a touchdown. Kansas City had that defensive score. That's the difference in the game. That game comes down to 4th down. Tua actually has a wide open touchdown, doesn't get the snap. So that game is a coin flip, essentially. Kansas City wins it, but that game is a coin flip against a team that is, at worst, the 2 or 3 best teams in football. And then you go to that Philadelphia game. I remember being on with Stephen A. the next day. If you remember that Philadelphia game, one had a touchdown called back. I think they lost by 14. Touchdown called back.
31-17, yes.
Okay, so touchdown called back. And then Tyreek Hill, who is an MVP candidate, dropped the touchdown. So, again, self-inflicted wounds, not getting whooped by anybody. So that's how their season has gone. One team has absolutely just whooped them on the field and beat them. Buffalo, I also think this in regards to Miami. Played many games this year without Jalen Ramsey, who's just come back and he's been phenomenal, and Xavier Howard, their other corner, opposite him. So the Jalen Phillips loss is a real thing. I don't want to minimize that. But,
huge.
Right, but if we're saying who's the best team in the AFC, we have conversations of like Kansas City and Buffalo that we think, Baltimore.
Yeah.
Kansas City game in Germany came down to a fumble return for a touchdown. That's the difference of that game. Miami's a legit Super Bowl contender. Absolutely.
Number 2 offense in football points, number 1 in yards, number 1 passing attack, number 2 rushing attack. Their offense is too lethal to classify them as anything other than a legitimate contender, because if your defense has the slightest speck of anything, any hole whatsoever, Miami Dolphins will exploit it. Now, I will say this. Let's go over some of the numbers. Over the last 2 months, the Miami Dolphins have played teams, the contenders, Bills, Eagles, Chiefs. They lost all 3. All 3 games were on the road. You got to take that into consideration. None of them were in Miami. We got to bring that up, okay? In all 3 of those games, they were outscored by 100-51. That's not something to brag about. Obviously, third down in those games, they were 10 of 33, only 30%. They got to do better than that. We get all of that. But again, when you're on the road, that kind of thing happens. I'm looking at Tua Tagovailoa, 3 touchdowns, in 3 games, 17 points, 3 touchdowns. 2 interceptions, sacked 10 times.
Yeah.
I'm looking at Skylar Thompson when he was in the playoffs last year in Buffalo against the Bills, and they almost won that game. They lost 34-31. You're imagining what can Tua do, but it comes down to Tua's availability, okay? Because when Tua's available, they're a different team. When he's not so much. If you get pressure on him, not so much. That's kind of the same thing we're saying about Brock Purdy from time to time. We'll see what happens. In Tua's case, Tyreek Hill with 2 on the field. In those 3 games, 69 receiving yards per game, just 1 touchdown. He dropped 1, so it should have been 2. But nevertheless, I'm just looking at it from that perspective, and I'm saying there's cause to pause, there's reason to question the Miami Dolphins. But when your offense is that prolific, Kimberly, when you can put up points in those bunches, you got to classify them as
You putting up those points in bunches like that in the playoffs? That's all I want to know.
Well, let me say this. I think you potentially can against the AFC teams. I think when you think about San Francisco specifically, no, you're not doing that. But do I think they could find themselves in a shootout against a Baltimore
They'll be at home
or Kansas City, 2 teams that have a legit defense this year, but come playoff time, do I think they can find themselves putting those teams in a shootout? Yeah, I think they could.
The biggest concern that I have about Miami right now is the interior of their offensive line. That has fallen off. That was a huge part of their early success, and like they were rolling 30-plus a game. The interior of their offensive line is starting to play poorly. So that does concern me when it comes to Baltimore's defensive line, Matabike in the middle, Chris Jones with Kansas City in the middle. I think the interesting thing for me is this. I expect them to win the division, right? Like, I know they play Buffalo, I believe, Week 18 down to Miami.
Right.
I don't think Buffalo's going to climb back in to win the division.
Right.
So them getting a home playoff game, like who, if they have to go into Miami, are we picking to beat Miami there?
You don't think the Chiefs, Jaguars, Ravens can?
I don't think those teams will have to go into Miami opening round. That's my point.
Okay.
Now, Week 2, like the divisional round, the only teams that I feel really good about going in and beating them would be Kansas City and Baltimore.
Okay.
Jacksonville's conversation.